7 locks, 7 lies. A vow was sealed in heaven before he drew breath. He was to be a Nazirite, a weapon forged for God. No razor would touch his hair, for in those 7 consecrated locks lay the terrible secret to his inhuman strength. He was Samson, a man set apart, burdened by a destiny to save a people who would never understand him. He grew, and the Spirit of God raged within him. His strength became a fearsome legend, a tale told in hushed awe by his people and in curses by their Philistine masters. He ripped lions apart with his bare hands and shattered armies with the jawbone of an ass. But for all his divine might, a desolate loneliness gnawed at the champion's soul. Then he descended into the valley of Sorek, and his gaze fell upon Delilah. He saw not a Philistine, an enemy of his God and his people, but a flame that mirrored the darkness in his own soul. He saw a promise of solace from the storm that raged within him. He was utterly captivated, a moth drawn to a beautiful, deadly fire. The serpent lords of the Philistines noted his obsession and slithered to her in secret. "Seduce him," they whispered, their voices venomous. "Uncover the root of his monstrous strength, that we may finally break him." The price they offered for this betrayal was a fortune in silver, enough to buy a kingdom or sell a soul. "Tell me your secret," she murmured, her voice a silken trap, her fingers tracing the hardened muscle of his arm. "Where does this impossible power lie?" 3 times she begged, and 3 times he answered with clever lies, speaking of bowstrings and ropes. He played her game, blind to the fact that her love was the only cage strong enough to hold him. At last, her patience gone, she turned on him, her voice a storm of weaponized tears. "How can you speak of love when your heart is a locked room to me? You have mocked me 3 times. Day after day she tormented him, her accusations chipping away at his will until his very soul grew weary unto death. And so the champion of God shattered. He poured out the fatal truth, the words heavy with doom. "A razor has never touched my head," he confessed, his voice a raw whisper. "It is the sign of my vow. If I were shaved, my strength would drain from me, and I would be as helpless as any other mortal." After lulling him to sleep on her lap, she signaled to the assassin waiting in the wings. The silver was counted. The bargain was sealed. As the cold iron whispered through his 7 holy locks, the sacred covenant was severed. The Spirit of God departed from him, and in his dreams he did not feel it leave. "The Philistines are upon you, Samson," she shrieked. He awoke, expecting to snap his bonds as before. But the power was gone, leaving only an empty vessel of flesh. They seized him, and his world became a symphony of pain, ending in a final, searing agony before plunging into eternal night. They gouged out his eyes and dragged their broken trophy away in chains of bronze. Bound in bronze, he became a beast of burden in the Gaza prison, endlessly turning a heavy millstone. The chosen one of God was now a Philistine plaything, a blind giant mocked and tormented for sport. But in the filth and the despair, unseen by his jailers, the stubble on his scalp slowly, stubbornly, began to grow. The Philistine lords, drunk on wine and victory, gathered in the great temple of their god, Dagon. They called for Samson to be their final entertainment. Led by a boy, the blind man was placed between the 2 great pillars that supported the roof. And there, amidst the jeers, he prayed a final, desperate prayer. "Sovereign Lord, remember me, please God, strengthen me only this once." With a final shattering roar that was both prayer and curse, he heaved with all his resurrected might. The great pillars groaned, cracked, and gave way. The temple roof crashed down in a tidal wave of stone and death. He died with his enemies, and in that single apocalyptic moment, he killed more than he had in his entire violent life. The tragedy was complete, bought with silver and paid for in blood and ruin.